जय श्री राम। जनरल बख्शी और के बाद और गुरुजी की डॉक्यूमेंट्री के बाद बोलना उतना ही कठिन है जितना सुनना आपके लिए कठिन होगा। My topic is war and soft power of Ramayana. Of war and the theme of conference are both paradoxical in nature. Yet, I'll make an attempt to trace softness even during war in those days. I will correlate this with legal perspective. Ahimsa parmo dharma, dharma hinsa tathaiv cha. Non-violence is the supreme dharma. So too is violence to preserve dharma. We can use violence, we should use violence to preserve dharma. Ramayana does not propagate cowardice and stands for waging war to strike down the evil than to succumb. Sanatana Dharma preserves ahimsa as an ethical imperative. Ramayana believes that war is undesirable and recourse to be taken to other means of settling the dispute. However, Ramayana does not propagate cowardice. The significance of this presentation is to analyze the contribution made by Ramayana to international law, especially in the field of war, use of force. The discussions of conventional and unconventional wars, treatment of developments, prisoners of war, are no new concepts to this war and have highly been discussed in the past. Dharma Yudh. Dharma, a guiding element of Hindu life, is of divine origin and connotes law, morality, duty, values, righteousness, etc., and is the source of rule of law, even during war or use of force. Dharma categorizes war into Dharma Yudh and Adharma Yudh, the ethical or righteous war and the unethical or unrighteous war. Ramayana functions as an ancient repository of social and moral values which are very much alive today. Ramayana demonstrates proper and improper uses of force. Even Torkel Brekke, an educationist and speaker, observes that Hindu tradition has produced an extensive code of ethics for combat during war, that is jus in bello, but a relatively meager discourse on conditions of resorting to war, that is jus in bellum. Though the old definition of war is mainly a contest between the armed forces of the belligerent state, but in the modern period, it is often seen that war takes place not only between the armed forces of the belligerent states, but also affects the citizens of the state concerned. The most glaring example is the dropping of atom bomb at Nagasaki and Hiroshima during the Second World War, and recently, the belligerent situation between Russia and Ukraine. Such war is therefore called as total war. According to Judge Nagin Singh, he was judge of International Court of Justice, in view of the change of methods of war, development of devastating weapons, particularly nuclear weapons, it has become necessity to bring about changes in the law of wars. The law of war is a component of international law, and that regulates the conditions for initiating war, that is jus in bellum, and the conduct of warring parties, that is jus in bello. Law of war defines sovereignty and nationhood, states and territories, occupation and other critical terms of law. International law is the set of rules, norms and standards generally recognized as binding between the states. It establishes normative guidelines and a common conceptual framework for states across a broad range of domains, including war, diplomacy, economic relations, and human rights. Among other issues, modern law of war addresses the declaration of war, acceptance of surrender, and the treatment of prisoners of war, military necessity, along with distinction and proportionality, and the prohibition of certain weapons that may cause unnecessary sufferings. The Hague Convention of 1899 and 1907 and a movement of pacific settlement of international disputes marked the beginning of the attempts to limit the right of war. Then the League of Nations was established after the end of First World War in 1920. However, the utter failure of League of Nations to establish peace in the world, another effort was made by establishment of United Nations Charter in 1945 as an effort to made or regulate the war. The United Nations Charter contains provisions restricting and even prohibiting war by states. Preamble of the Charter says that armed forces shall not be used save in common interest. The most important achievement of the United Nations is probably that it has prohibited war, and there are only a few exceptions wherein a state can resort to war. In modern times, some treaties have been concluded in order to check the spread of nuclear war and prohibit it in certain areas. The Constitution of India, Article 51, enjoins the state to endeavor to promote the international peace and security, maintain just and honorable relations between nations, foster respect for international law and treaties, and Article 253 of the Constitution empowers the Indian Parliament to enact any law in order to implement any treaty or agreement which India is party. Now, these are the ethical precepts for war. Why use force or enter into war? There are three part of it: just cause, right intent, and legitimate authority are the 3 points where we can have a resort to war. The net benefit, last resort, proportional force with right conduct. War should have a pure motive in favor of righteousness against the selfish desire. Sri Sita was abducted and Ravan refused to repatriate her, giving rise to war. Sri Ram came to rescue Sri Sita and did not have an ambition to siege and conquer Lanka. Indisputably, there was a just cause for Sri Ram and unjust cause for Ravan. Righteousness and unrighteousness go hand in hand. Even after winning the war, Sri Ram did not take Sri Lanka and gave it back to the heir means Vibhishan to carry forward. This is also seen in the Doha of विभीषण ने आकर पुनः सिन्हा, तब कृपा कर श्री समुद्र राम जी ने छोटे भाई लक्ष्मण को बुलाया और उनसे राज तिलक करने के लिए कहा, विभीषण का राज तिलक करने के लिए कहा। ये दो दोहों से पता चलता है हमको। नेट बेनिफिट, do we get any benefit when we enter a war is the question. A balance has to be struck to calculate the chances of winning or losing. It was suggested that a king who is weaker than his rival or equal to him in strength should go for peace and one who is stronger should go for war. मंदोदरी, प्रहस्त और मालवंत ने कहा है कि आप सीता को छोड़ दीजिए और वार को अवॉइड करिए. That was the net benefit. Last resort. War, engaging into war should be the last resort. Before engaging in the war, all the available alternative resolution systems should have been exhausted. Shri Ram sent Angad as an envoy to Ravan's court. in an effort to ensure a peaceful return for Sri Sita and to avoid warfare. But that didn't happen, and so they had to go for war. Next point is force in proportion. A force proportional to the act has to be used. When Ravan was bent upon to kill Sri Hanuman, he was advised that an emissary should not be so treated. Ravan decides to disfigure Hanuman by putting his tail on fire to commemorate the misdeed he did. So a proportional use of force has to be there. Now, the war should be with right conduct. Methods of war, weapons of war, and treatment of combatants. These are the right conducts to be used during war. Combat must be between two warriors similarly placed. That is, fight should only be with equals, king with kings, cavalry soldiers with cavalry soldiers, or the like. The foe who does not resist or is hiding or seeking refuge must not be slain. From these dohas, we can understand that war should be between the equals. नीचे के दोहों से पता चलता है कि भगवान श्री राम के पास रथ नहीं था, तो उनको रथ दिया गया, और जिससे वे नीचे के ये हुआ है सर दोहे पे, देवताओं ने प्रभु को पैदल देखा तो उनके हृदय में बड़ा भारी क्षोभ उत्पन्न हुआ। फिर इंद्र ने तुरंत अपना रथ भेज दिया। फिर भगवान श्री राम रथ पर चढ़े और युद्ध किया। तो इक्वालिटी वहां भी देखी गई कि इक्वल शुड फाइट विथ इक्वल्स। Weapons of war. Only those weapons should be used which would overawe the enemy army, and Shri Ram forbade to use a weapon which could have destroyed the civilians and others, not armed as the destruction en masse. वाल्मीकि रामायण से ये दो श्लोक हैं जिससे पता चलता है कि जब श्री लक्ष्मण जो है क्रोधित हो गए और राक्षसों के संहार के लिए ब्रह्मास्त्र का प्रयोग करने वाले थे, तब श्री राम ने उनसे कहा कि लक्ष्मण से कहा कि भाई एक के कारण भूमंडल के समस्त राक्षसों का वध करना तुम्हारे लिए उचित नहीं होगा। These were the principles. Treatment of combatants, prisoners of war and civilians wounded. The greatest example being treatment of Lakshman when he was severely injured by a Lankan doctor, Vaidya Shushen, who really accepted to come from Lanka to the enemy side and treat Lakshman. Contemporary war laws and Ramayana. I think some slide is missing. The concept of war is definitely not a new term or something that came up only during 20th century. War has been a component which has existed since the ancient times, and the mention of war, the aftermath, forms of war, and the rules form a major part of Ramayana. Means it existed, the law of wars existed during that time also. Ramayana provides for using weapon and apply force for punishment as well as protection. The modern contemporary international do not make provision for punishment for per se. However, though the UN Charter prohibits war, but we see that that is not being followed. There are ample evidence of flagrant use of force. The contemporary law allows use of force for self-defense, but such use of probable aggression is not discernible during the period of Ramayana. Self-defense was not allowed during Ramayana. It was only use of force to overawe some person. Under the UN Charter, there are international authorities and organization bodies to oversee war, but there was no organization during that period. The rule of combat in Ramayana provided for combat between warriors. Ramayana provides for war that is to be fought only during daytime, and ceasefire existed during the night. But no such concept is prevalent in contemporary world. We can see from these two. Now the concluding remarks. The concept of Dharma-yudh in Ramayana gives a humanitarian touch to warfare. It restricts the means and the methods of warfare. It is explicitly clear that during the period of Ramayana, the norms of war were progressive. Evidently, the concept of soft humanitarian power during the war is well recognized in Ramayana. Ramayana definitely upholds necessity for appropriate conduct while engaging in battle also. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.